Oh,
There we go.
hello. Welcome to another episode of What's Really Going On in America. Um, sorry about last week. I was heavily in study about the tariffs, and we're going to be discussing that this week, even though it's a little difficult. Speaking of good old capitalism, um, if you want to get one of our wonderful t-shirts. Get a Human Lives Matter t-shirt at worgoa.com/shop because and we promise we won't charge you tariffs. um so yeah. So in the media, so the media is all over the place. Trump's all over the place. Um First it's tariffs, then it's pause in 90 days. I mean, what's really going on here?
We don't know. That's the problem. None of us know. Nobody knows. Um, I don't think the man pulling the strings really knows. But for some reason, it appears that it might be working a little bit, which is kind of interesting.
Well, there are some companies that are getting out from these countries and back into this country, which means more jobs for Americans. And it's and what makes me think now liberals are going all crazy about this because they're always saying, "Oh, we got more jobs under Biden." Well, no, we're getting more jobs now under Trump once again.
I thought people on the left really enjoyed taxes. And I thought that if you tax people, it would totally not trickle down into the price of whatever they're producing or services that they're providing. I mean, that's just what I've been told. Every time, somebody says, hey, let's lower corporate tax so companies can, I don't know, function a little bit better, incentivize them to be here. Oh, that's right. That's right. We don't like these taxes because this is going to cost us money. And and they realize, oh, maybe taxes aren't that good of a thing. Like we were saying in pre-show, it could be the same thing. If your guy does it, it's cool. If the other guy does it, it's bad. So here we are on round. I've lost count of how many times I've witnessed this throughout my life. Now we're just gonna now it's about tariffs and trade and balance and uh, whatever. People, just go be mad in your corner.
Yeah. So if anyone in the audience has anything to say about the tariffs, we are all ears or eyes in this case, since I will be reading your comments. But but yeah, you were saying that before the podcast began, the news is all over the place. Like let's hear some of the things you've heard because I probably heard many of the same things.
Well, the main thing that I keep hearing is the trade deficit. They keep bringing that up. Like, oh well, so and so doesn't buy anything from us. Well, they don't need what we're selling. I mean, some tiny African nation is not buying a brand new Cadillac Escalade. They're just not. But they might have something, some sort of crop, maybe a mineral rights, whatever, that we do need. So we're buying a lot from them. So on paper, they can spin that to make it look like it's unbalanced trade. It's not 50-50. Well, that's different because that's we buy what we need from them. They don't buy anything from us because they don't need anything. Wow. Shocking, right? Kind of sounds like capitalism a little bit.
Hmm.
Now, from my understanding, the whole tariff thing is it. Honestly, I disagree with it. Because I am just that much of a capitalist. Like, hey, may the best product win. Um, so like we tariff the crap out of foreign cars. So some of these manufacturers have said, all right, these models sell the best in the United States, so we are going to build a manufacturing facility in the United States so we can then bypass these import taxes. So you have foreign companies that are more incentivized to create jobs within the states than our American companies who are not being penalized for taking their production and moving it overseas, moving it to, like I said, another country with lower labor costs. That's where I want to see this come into play. I want to see it smack the American companies around a little bit. Like, all right, Ford. Um, remember back during the last Trump term when you decided that you were going to stop production in Mexico, or you were going to not expand your production in Mexico and then bring production jobs back to the United States? What happened? Oh, that's right. The Roomba got elected, and you just said, "Screw it, I'm going to send my crap back to Mexico again." And you get treated like an American company. They are not treated like an imported car, which is pretty messed up. What's the other one that's really freaking stupid? I mean, and it's honestly the loopholes that some of these companies come up with is glorious. So like those big like transit work vans that they sell, like Mercedes are real popular. So they will ship them all the way across the ocean from Europe with seats in them because at that point they are considered a passenger vehicle, which has a lighter tax on it. Gets to port, they remove all the seats, they put them in a crate, and then they send them back to Europe and then sell that van with no seats as a work van here in the United States. Um, Meanwhile, we just want like cheap, reliable pickup trucks from Japan because obviously we can't build them here because the last good small pickup truck, let's see, what last year production of that was 2002. Yeah, 2002 is the last production year of a decent pickup truck in the United States.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
And
know cars. I know car crap. So I'm gonna try and equate as much of my car knowledge into this because at least at that point I have some semblance of understanding on what they're doing.
yeah, and that's kind of funny about the loophole, um, which means I'm sure our government will fight that with Trump in office because, well, he's not the kind of guy who's going to play games. If I know Trump at all, since I kept an eye on him since the 1980s, and when he was very popular by the Democratic Party, and so if we we put tariff. So now, what about this 90-day pause?
I think they realized they screwed up, and I don't mean it as a criticism. I mean it as I'm actually kind of happy that somebody said, "Wait a minute, this may not actually go the way we need it to." So remember the EV mandate that we had under the Roomba? And he
Yeah,
said, I want everybody to be driving an EV by like the year 2028 or 2030, whatever, some arbitrary bullshit number he came up with. All right, cool. Awesome. How are we going to charge them? How are we going to make them? Where are we going to get the shit to build the batteries from? All of this logistical nightmare that, nobody had an answer to. And they had like do a rollback on it because we physically couldn't do it. When they start, you know, going off about oil, natural gas, and stuff like that. Okay, I'm 100% for finding a new source of energy. It's not going to hurt us, but you can't just say the one that we've built an entire world economy on, and just say, nope, we're not doing it anymore. Nope, it's done. It doesn't work that way. You can't just wish a solution into existence. You need to come up with something that's going to work. So I think what's going on with the tariffs is it's going to have very, very drastic effects short term, and very suddenly. You start. What are we up to with China right now? 150 some percent, and like, man, we buy too much shit from them. That's really what it comes down to. We are so dependent upon that country because everything comes from there. Everything, microchips, clothing. Like we're just like, oh, we don't care about underpaid people in other nations. We only care about underpaid people here. We Same thing with the environment. We can't do that here because it's bad for the trees and the polar bears. So we're just going to send that over to China and India and Africa because, well, that's not our backyard. When it starts to affect you at home, that's when, oh, maybe we should do something a little bit different.
Mm. Well, uh, well, yeah, they definitely. So yeah, they screwed up, and now. So what do you think? So if you were the president right now, talking about the tariffs, how would you handle all that? And what you like? How would you like make everything better?
I mean, again, I'm just going to kind of theorize because I'm not an expert on this by any means. I think we need to smack our U.S. based companies for moving stuff overseas, and that's really the biggest issue to me. And you want to, boost our economy and bring manufacturing jobs back here. You have to you have to give these companies a reason to not go elsewhere. Um, I'm getting told that I sound quiet. I wonder if it's the way my microphone's angled. Anyway, um, but yeah, we need to figure out a way to make these companies want to stay here, or companies to come here in general. So I again, I don't really have a solution for the world stage, but I think we need to start by, beating our own kids first before we start worried about what the neighbors are doing. And like, trade deficits, let's throw that out the window. Um, I don't know. It's one of those topics where I really feel that it's kind of media driven. We know that we've been taken advantage of by pretty much the entire world for a very, very long time. And it just took the crazy orange guy to really push it to the forefront to the point where it doesn't matter what he says, certain media outlets are going to criticize it.
Especially, yeah, the liberals media. And here's the thing. Um, I want. I'm now gonna use this material I've been saving up. Um, so if I own a business, we all know that. Now, if I wanted to be super duper rich, I would use I China, Mexico, and anywhere else that has slave labor to keep costs down, basically paying people $2 an hour in these other countries. So then I don't have to pay the minimum wage or higher here in America.
Well, that's really what it comes down to. And then the working conditions on top of it. You're these companies overseas, they're making these literal children work 12, 14-hour days, no breaks, the worst working conditions. And the irony is, I I work in a body shop. No surprise, you guys know this. It, we have air conditioning, and the minute it gets above 75 degrees outside, oh, we have to turn on the air conditioning. It's hot out. I never got to work in a shop with air conditioning when I was a mechanic, so suck it up, Buttercup. Meanwhile, you have these, like I said, these children in these third world nations, um, They don't even know what an air conditioner is. So, like, I don't want to hear it. And, I mean, are they being paid? Are they technically slave labor? No. But it's, you know what? In our country, would that crap stand? Absolutely not. There'd be people rioting in the streets over it. But again, it doesn't matter who you are, who you vote for, what political party you're from. Oh, it's okay because it's not in my backyard. It's somewhere else. That's their problem. They can deal with that nonsense. We're just going to sit here and blog about it on the internet at Starbucks on Wi-Fi, on our $1,000 freaking computer that some Chinese kid got paid 32 cents to make.
Yeah, 32 cents to make it sounds just about right. And it and to be honest, it is slave labor because we would never because if that happened here in America and people understood the 13th Amendment, they would be rioting in the streets. They would be protesting in the streets. In fact, we do have protests. Try doing that in China. They can't.
Oh, well, do you remember what happened during that weird disease virus thing a couple years ago?
Hmm.
They were forcing people back into their homes at gunpoint. Like that
Yeah.
video wasn't going to get out throughout the world.
And this is how many of the wealthy got richer into million and billionaires here in this country by using the slave labor in other countries. Because why keep jobs here paying from minimum wage to like 25 bucks an hour when you can pay 2 bucks an hour or less in China, Mexico, North or South Korea,
Hmm.
where the people have zero rights under the government.
We've been doing it pretty much the last 125 years, and the minute we opened up trade routes with China, obviously our business people went in there and said, "Hey, I need you to make this thing. How cheap can you make it?" And the fact that like somebody like you or let's just say we make a product, okay? Um, we want to make a I don't know a doohickey that goes on the back of our cell phone. We make a prototype, and then we go to China, and you say, "I want to sell this in the United States for $10. I need it to be produced for $2 or less to make sure it's profitable. Make sure with shipping costs and everything. You're not going to get it done here." And that's really what it comes down to. And like I'm not trying to talk crap on people who don't have job skills, but homies, you should probably try and learn something, because if you don't, you're considered unskilled. And if you're unskilled, I can't have you doing things that require skill. And things that require skill, they do this thing called pay money. And they usually pay better money. Because if you're just pushing a broom, I'm sorry, auto workers union, you're not worth 35 bucks an hour to take out trash. Like you're just not. And that's why these companies leave. They're like, it's just become too expensive to produce something here that we can't sell it for a price that people are willing to pay, so we can make, make a 30% profit on it. Like 30% is, that's a decent amount. I think that's fair, wouldn't you? Um,
Yeah.
Across the board. And the thing is, like, these big corporations, the automakers, Apple, Amazon, they have enough capital where they can absorb a lot of money. Now, small little company like that I work for, we can't just say, "Oh, by the way, minimum wage is now $20 an hour, and you're going to pay it." We couldn't operate. We could not. Our margins are so thin. I mean, granted, it's part of my industry as a whole, but like the margins are so thin, a company can't afford to do that. And at that point, we just say, "All right, throw in the white flag. We're done. We just say, okay, we can't do this anymore. It's no longer profitable.
Mm-hmm. And and the liberals may have a small point. Um, if people can afford to give themselves $1 million or $1 billion bonus, then they can afford to treat their employees a little bit better than they say. Now I don't like this solution, and they say, "Oh, tax the rich." It's like, what good does it do for the government to tax the rich? All you're doing is taking from the rich and giving it to the rich
Yeah,
by
you're
theft.
exactly. You're doing nothing to help the workers that you claim that taxing the rich is going to help. It's not the way that works. What that is, the government has a spending problem and they're running out of places to pull money from. It's really what it comes down to. Now, why not, instead of saying, we're going to tax the crap out of these people, give them incentives? I mean, and I don't mean just, if you promise to pay your workers more, we're going to give you a tax break. No, no, no. I want proof that you paid your workers better, and then you get a tax break. Now, fun fact. If you're a big dollar company and you pay your workers a whole crap load of money, that's a write-off. So there in itself is the incentive, the incentive to, I don't know, pay a little better. But
Yeah.
rent, so you have a company that manufactures something. They need a facility to do it in. They need to buy equipment. Equipment's not cheap. If I wanted to go start a body shop tomorrow, I would need between $1.5 and $3 million to be competitive. That's just to open the door. That doesn't get me business. That's just to open the door and have the equipment to do it. And that's nothing special. That's, maybe 5 bays, a spray booth, and a frame machine. That it's insane.
And then you'll have the government on your back
Oh
as
yeah.
you open
Yep.
it
Oh,
with all kinds
100%.
of
Yep.
regulations.
Yep. I'll have OSHA there. I'll have the EPA. I'll have the labor people. Let's see, who else do I get to deal with on a daily basis? Those are the big three. Those are the ones that hurt the wallet the most. You need to do all this stuff. It's like, okay, that what you just told me to do is like 50 grand. Well, you shouldn't have had it wrong. It's a freaking light switch, dude. Nope, we don't like it. Gotta change it. Rewire the whole building. Meanwhile, keep in mind the building, would be up to code and everything before that. It's just they come in and make crap up. Oh, they're kind of like the ATF. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, we know that was cool like yesterday, but we changed the meaning and now it's not.
Mm. And just to think too, then they make stupid little regulations on businesses just because they can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's too much power. That's too much control for the government. And so so with all of that, that's going to cost a little bit of money, wouldn't it, to get all these things done and then have them come and inspect it again.
Oh, it's all it is. It's all about money. It's just money, 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 money. It's just like it's never ending writing checks, and it's so. I mean, I'm not even trying to like make it sound like my shop is dangerous by any means. Like we are up to code. Like that's one thing that my boss is very very you know adamant about. Everything needs to be safe. Everything needs to be up to code. He doesn't want anybody on getting hurt in any way, shape, or form. Because at the end of the day, you know, how much extra profit are you going to make if somebody gets hurt or worse? So he's a really, really good person when it comes to that. I have to my hat is off to that man. But we pay a company to come in and essentially pretend like they're OSHA and tell us all the things that OSHA has a problem with. So, fun fact, we'll just say I forget where we're at in the cycle, but last year they come through. They give us, the packet. All right, you have to fix all this stuff, and then you'll be good. We fix all this stuff. The following year, they come back. All right, we see you fixed all that stuff. Cool. This thing that was good last year, it's not anymore. So now you have to do this. Like, the hell? How has it been good for the last how many years? Now all of a sudden it's a problem? Like, we're not allowed, they don't want us to have latex gloves because, like, 1% of the freaking population has a latex allergy. No, we got to buy the boxes of the nitrile that are, 3 times as expensive. Because there's a 1% chance that somebody might be allergic to a latex glove.
Well, now let's take everything that you know about mechanics, starting the mechanic business in America. Now let's go in China
Oh,
instead
oh.
of America. Let's say you wanted to expand to China or in Mexico because you're so big, you want to be a billionaire. And could you imagine how little the cost would be, the labor, the regulations, and everything else?
It
And,
would
and then when
it would
you're
be pocket
importing,
change.
yeah, and then importing without the tariffs would definitely save you some money without the increased tariffs at the time before Trump even talked about it.
Yeah, that's why we produce things over there. I could go do exactly what my job is right now. Go to China, open up the same size building, do the same kind of work, and it would be pennies on the dollar. Why? Because of lack of regulation. That's what it really comes down to. And the biggest thing we run into is emissions. We paint cars. Paint's not good for the environment. Um, so our spray booth is like $200,000, and that's just because we got a really good deal on it. If you want to like really step it up, I mean, some of these companies have spray booths that are like almost $1 million. They're just absolutely insane. Um, but like I said, go to China, doesn't matter. Just let that shit put a fan in the wall, let it blow outside. It'll be fine. Nobody cares.
And then
All your waste product, all that hazardous waste that I have to pay, thousands of dollars a year to get rid of. No, just we'll dump it in the river. It'll be fine. Nobody cares.
oh yeah, and then the safety regulations. Oh, screw that in China.
They have a
Eh,
billion people. If somebody dies, they'll just get another one. It's honestly their logic. It's I sound like a terrible person when I say that, but they run their manufacturing business like Russia runs a war. It's just a meat grinder. Like, get another one, and that's all they do. People are dying on the job, and they just haul them off and bring the next one in.
yeah, and or even and let's go cheaper, Mexico, where you don't even have to transport across the ocean, and you even become richer. And you still got the slave labor, the less regulations, and everything else that goes with it. It's like it's so most of our million and billionaires that are CEOs are profiting off basically inhumane ways.
I know it sounds like we're crapping on capitalism here, guys. We're just pointing out the fact that being the balanced kind of show that we do here, um, we're going to point out the flaws too. There are problems with it. There's no denying it. But yet nobody's given us a solution other than socialism. It's it's either we whine and complain about how bad capitalism is, or we switch to socialism, and then we can witness how bad that is. There, I still remember the one time Joe Rogan, little clip. He's like, there are no fat poor or no poor people that are. Oh wait, we have fat poor people here, something like that. I forget exactly how he worded it, but when they were talking about at some point how bad America is, like, okay, well, poor people are fat here. You go to any other country in the world, poor people are skin and bones because they're not eating. Kind of, I mean, little kickoff when we were talk about RFK and all the crap they put in our food. I'm sure that has nothing to do with it, but we have to acknowledge first that we have the best system out of any country. It's just we're very young, and we kind of, I don't know, just need to figure out some little tweaks and changes here and there, and fine tune it.
Yeah, you reading that?
Yeah,
We've
and
just been exporting the world reserve currency since 1971. That's our export. Now,
and
now I'm not.
honestly, we're about to
Now
lose
I'm
it
not. Mm,
because we've devalued that dollar so bad that it's no longer being viewed as the stable currency for the world.
I, people would tell me at a time when pennies, like back in the 70s and 80s, I would. Some of the older people would tell me about the time they would remember they can get a loaf of bread for like a nickel or a dime when pennies were actually worth something. And I remember, getting a TV guide for like a buck or or even less than that. A stick of gum for like 10, 15 cents. And oh, yeah, hamburgers and cheeseburgers at McDonald's for 39 and 49 cents. And that was even 1997 when they had specials on them. But now we don't even have a dollar menu anymore.
So what's funny, and by funny I mean absolutely freaking sad, is I'm gonna use my F pass right now. Fuck Richard Nixon for taking us off gold standard, because remember there was a time where a silver quarter would buy you a gallon of gas. So if our currency was backed up by the precious metals that we claim to have, we should still be able to buy a gallon of gas today for a quarter, because we're using the silver weight and the value of that silver weight, or as far as like the dollar goes, what is it worth, on gold? Well, how is it that the price of gold keeps going up, but yet our dollar value keeps going down? Now, is the price of gold going up because the dollar's being devalued because it's just being spread too thin and we just keep printing more money? That's our biggest issue, is our dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. Like, everybody complaining like, oh, well, when you bought your house back in 1970, it cost $9. Not $9 was a lot of money back then. I mean, you were buying muscle cars, like top tier muscle cars from the, made in America by Americans for like $3,500. Here in 2025, we can't buy a decent beater car for $3,500, let alone a brand new performance car.
Oh
Maybe.
no, 25 grand minimum.
Average new car price in America right now is $44,000. $44,000. I remember when, if somebody had a car that was 40 grand, they were loaded and able to be able to afford that. Now, a freaking pickup truck is $110,000. It's a truck. And I'm sure the cost of manufacturing it has some sort of play into it. Maybe just a little bit of some of that mandated government crap that goes on it for emissions that does absolutely nothing to make the truck run better. Makes it no better for the environment. Makes it less reliable. So now we're not keeping these $110,000 trucks for 30 years like people used to do with cars. It uh,
And so,
we've
so
regulated ourselves into we're going to regulate ourselves into poverty. That's really what it's going to come down to. And the 1%, well, not even the 1%. I mean, because honestly, in the world, we're in the 1%. Like average Americans are in the 1% if you count the world. Again, we like to use statistics to our advantage. That's what happens with media. But yeah, it's something's got to change, and I don't know what it is. I really don't. And voting hasn't seemed to work. I don't know. Kind of happy I don't have children. That's all I have to say.
it. Oh, let's see. Look at this. Gotta reinstate the gold standard and end the Fed, and Trump won't do it. Cause why? Uh,
There is so many people in that circle because I mean, ever since I started paying attention to politics, so we're talking like 2006, 2007, I started looking into it. 08 to 10 is when I really started like falling into it. That's when I
mm.
found out that the Federal Reserve sounds very official, correct? Right. All right.
Oh yeah,
So,
sounds like a government agency.
exactly, but a lot of people don't realize it's a private freaking bank. And
Mhm.
they dictate essentially what our interest rates are, they're essentially in charge of what our currency is valued at. And the gold standard, yes. Yeah, I really do think we need that because it's kind of funny. You're going to talk crap on cryptocurrency about how it's not fake, it's not tangible. Well, guess what? The dollar bill in my wallet has nothing backing it up. It's a promise. I,
And to be honest, too, it's not just Trump that won't do it, but it's all the other presidents in the past, Democrat and Republican, that won't do it.
there's too much
Why?
there's too much behind the scenes crap going on. It would upset the entire world. Um, you saw everybody wig out when they said they were going to audit Fort Knox. I'm sorry. If you tell me I have this amount of gold, I would like, some proof. Oh, well, they told us they did a tour in the 70s, I think it was, or early 80s. Okay. Because I'm supposed to trust that. And it's the worst part is with this AI crap that we have now and the way you can make this stuff so real. Remember, people thought the moon landing was fake. Like there's people today who feel that was on a soundstage and never happened. It was just all propaganda to rub Russia's face in the dirt. All right.
Mindy Robinson keeps saying that, and it kind of makes sense. Is like, how is there a camera showing on the moon on the outside, showing Neil Armstrong, But that's going off the topic, but just want to say that.
Oh yeah,
But
it's just like we demand proof, and you know can we even trust what's put out there for us as truth? Exactly. And the Fed, get rid of it.
yeah,
At bare minimum,
because
they
all
need to
they
audit
do
it.
is print more money, and everything that's being done is about money. And I know Trump wants to do good, but he still has a greedy heart, I believe. And I think, and this is why I voted for Randall Terry, even though he's weak in his answer on end the Fed in this debate, and he went back to hating Democrats and abolishing all abortions as a deflection, I still think he would have done the job to end the Fed. He would have found some like minded people that would have helped him through that to get the job done. And I would have supported that 100 and 200%.
Well, right now, I think what we're seeing with Donald Trump is if something can be done, it's going to be done. And the fact that it's not is the biggest spotlight on the people behind the scenes that are actually pulling the strings. Like,
Mm.
if there was ever proof that there is somebody behind the scenes pulling strings, it is under Donald Trump's presidency because that man has no filter. That man gives zero Fs. He he just, I mean, he just goes out there and says words, man. And
He went out of his way early in the debate to crap on fiat currency. Terry got out there early. Mm. Yeah, I saw a couple of his debates, and I'm actually hoping that we will. I'm hoping that the nation, after Trump's presidency, will consider alternative parties to get the complete job done. I keep telling Mindy Robinson on most of her posts that she needs to run for president. If you want stuff to get done, we need the Robinson administration. She's in the Libertarian Party, and and let me tell you, she would get the job done. The rests would be made. Tell if tariffs is the way to do things, she would get the job done. You can like there will be no pulling strings with her. You could she would be massively low doing this country better even than Trump, I believe.
yeah, we need more tools in the cabinet. Like I mean, it's funny because I consider most of the people in government to be a giant tool anyway. But it's we're only going to accomplish so much by doing the same thing. It's the definition of insanity. We just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Oh, Democrats are in charge for a while. Oh, the Republicans are in charge for a while. Same crap over and over and over again. That
Interesting. I'd like to see if Tulsi Gabbard and JD Vance ticket.
that's honestly pretty realistic. Because again, we're until a third party comes out and actually like starts, doing some work outside of just popping some person into a random election with no background. As of the way things are right this second, that's probably what you're going to see in 28. You're probably going to see a Vance Gabbard ticket.
Yeah, but and this is why I fear people are in a. I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably gonna offend a lot of people, but they are in a party cult. If they think that, oh, I hope them because they're Republican. I hope they get elected because they're Democrat. We got to start seeing people as individuals. Like when I was looking at all the libertarians, some like Trump, some others don't. And the Libertarian Party, the haters, they're like, oh yeah, we hate him because he's doing this and that, and it's like you're just mad because he's doing many of the jobs that you wanted to do. While someone like Mindy Robinson would be like, "Oh, I like all this winning," but she still calls out Trump for things that he doesn't do, and I like that about her objective mind. And we need to have objective minds, you know, and then maybe eventually, um, if tariffs is a good thing, then they will get the tariffs done. No ifs, ands, or buts, you know, and they'll see how it works out. And if it doesn't work out, they'll take it away. If it does, they'll keep it. But we need someone that is more like us in office, that that's not gonna, think, oh my goodness, I have $1 billion and I am gonna lose money if I do this. And a part of me thinks Trump has that kind of mind. As much as I hate to sound like a liberal or a libturd, but I think he would put his self interest before the country if it was to lose, if it's him losing money.
I mean, whether it was showmanship, whatever the case may be, I mean, he did lose quite a bit of money by becoming president. Um, because remember, before he mentioned anything about being interested in politics, everybody loved him. Oh, Donald Trump, I love him. He's great. I love that show he's on. You know, everybody loved him. And the minute he came down that escalator, it was like a light switch. So I think, I don't know. Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say that too. Although a lot of what he's doing is benefiting us. At least he's not like being power hungry only for himself, like Biden and Clinton and Bush Jr., with self interest. And, and so there's that. And yeah, even Trump himself called out Bush and Bush Jr., along with Clinton and Obama.
And that's, I always have to laugh. They'll go up there and they'll talk smack about each other on TV, and then they'll all go out and party together. It's just so funny to me. Like the words that they will use towards each other, just the absolute hatred that they portray, and then they're at a dinner together, shaking hands, hugging, taking pictures together. It's like, you guys are really not doing a good job of making it sound, or making government appear the way you think it looks. Because guess what, homie? Everybody's got a camera now. You can't have a handshake with somebody anymore without somebody snapping a picture, especially when you're at that level of, I hate to use the term celebrity, but that's essentially what they are. Um, like, wrestling, pro wrestling, whatever, pro wrestling. Well, guess what? They go out there to kick the crap out of each other in the ring. They hate each other. They get all this dialogue, and then they go backstage when nobody's watching, and they're having a beer together. They're doing whatever outside of their activities together. They're all friends because guess what? They're all actors. That's the way I look at it. And they're all being paid to do certain things and say certain words, and they go up there and they read their script for their little puppet masters. And this goes for every single person, and I'm just going to say everyone in government, because I don't have the time to go through and weed out the ones who aren't bought and paid for. Because they all go up there, they say the flavor of the week, and every side's got their talking point. Oh, this is our stance on this, and then the other side's like, well, ours is completely freaking opposite. All right, how many times do we have to do this? I mean, in reality, how many times do we have to do this before somebody like actually says, you guys are doing the same thing? It's like a freaking shitty script for a daytime soap opera.
Oh, it's almost like the Cobra Kai cast. You'll see Cobra Kai versus Miyagi Do go against each other, and then next thing on the show, with them hate, and man, the hate of some of the characters are so intense. But then when they're off screen, oh, they are laughing, cheering for each other, having fun. It kind of reminds me of that in our own government, as you said, actors. And I'm just like, oh, I just can't, I just can't stand. And for a long while, I thought Democrats and Republicans were just two different parties with different ideas. When I was growing up, but as soon as I woke up in 2020, um, I went into investigation of both sides, and then I even looked beyond the two parties. And there are parties out there that legitimately want to improve people's lives. The Libertarian Party, even though I may not agree with every little thing that they, you know, will support, the
Good drugs and machine
Constitution.
guns. That's all we need. Good drugs and machine guns, and everybody'll be fine.
Yep. The Constitution Party, which I 100% support, and you should definitely check out them. And I'm glad I'm not the only person that's looked into Randall Terry, which was nice. And and here's a little comment here. Trump doesn't play as nice with the Obamas, Romneys, Clintons on his level, but does he take money from the IPAC?
Oh yeah, that APAC thing that's a problem. That is a big problem. Especially because I know how much you love the Rhino Republicans. There's a lot of Rhino Republicans holding office right now because of that. And it's just they're pushing who they feel is the most electable, not the actual best candidate.
You
Um,
mean like Mike Johnson, still Speaker of the House, even though he said, "Oh, we need to give billions more to Ukraine," while Biden was sitting in office,
I dislike that man for so many reasons. And I really
and
when
Trump supports him.
when he was meddling in primaries, I thought that was pretty effed up. To be completely honest, I thought, really, you're gonna go to a random state for a primary?
Yeah, and
Like,
it
and
leaves.
it's like, okay, so you have these ads out against this person that you're allegedly campaigning against about how much of a joke they are. Then why are you there? If they're such
Yeah,
a joke, wouldn't the voters know that?
yeah.
Uh,
I
Oh,
and I
oh,
want.
that's right. You're realizing that your little puppet might get primaried out of his freaking seat.
I wonder if Mike Johnson even supports the tariffs. Uh, you know, it makes me wonder. I should have checked that. I definitely will after this podcast. Because I don't trust. I still don't trust the guy. I
But
really don't. And Marjorie Taylor Greene defends him endlessly. And even though I like a lot of what she says, she's letting her emotions get in the way of objective truth when it comes to Mike Johnson. And she still says, "Oh yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a godly guy, a Christian." But I don't know what. I can tell you why. Because he's a rhino. Don't let your friendship get in the way with the objective truth. Because I would call out my own mother. Y-
I,
you know.
honestly, the way we need to start treating these politicians are the way I treat the NRA. I hate
Mm,
them. I absolutely hate the NRA. Reason being, every gun control law that's ever passed got its approval from the NRA. And then they take my money and then they tell me how this gun control is somehow a good idea or it's a fair compromise to make because what they were really going for was, X, Y, and Z. So every time like something bad happens with the NRA, they're like, "Hey, something happened to the NRA. How do you feel about that gun nut?" Like, oh, I love it because they are the worst. because there's actual
Well,
grassroots, people out there doing a much better job for my rights. So it's the same way I feel about these politicians. You're gonna make everything seem all dark and stormy and like, oh, the end is near. If you don't vote this way or do this thing, it's it's all made up. It's all made up, and then it's just projected into our face via our phone, our radios, our televisions. Like, you can't do anything anymore without something political being forced in front of you. Like, the freaking hell, man. Stuff sucks.
yeah, it was never like that before 2020. Even though we had our disagreements with in politics, since probably forever, but it's intensified since 2020 for sure because people are waking up to the truth and they see that our politics. Now, I wish they would, both sides, both Republican and Democrat voters, would think objectively about each candidate, each elected official, and say, you know what? Maybe we should not vote this guy in, or vote this woman in, and maybe we should investigate a third party. Maybe we should go to a news source that's willing to give a third party
Mm-hmm.
the option to go on their platform. And I'm willing to have anyone be able to speak on this show. I'm willing to write a report on any candidate, you know, because let's face it, people need the absolute truth,
Yeah.
and the absolute truth sometimes hurts me. The first time Trump went to presidency, I'm like, "Ooh, I'm living good these 4 years. Eh, Best years of my life, and my tax refunds were getting bigger. Because they spent less spending. And I'm like, I wonder why the Bushes couldn't do better if the Republican Party was so good compared to Democrats. And I'm thinking, because the two Bushes compared to Obama and Clinton were slightly better than the Democrats. But here's Trump. Ooh, more money, more money, more money.
Yeah.
And that's because I found out, looking at them, looking through the lens of human nature, that they're basically the same. But the Republicans are gonna be Democrats with conservative clothing, many of them,
Yeah.
bought and paid for.
Yep.
Uh, you know, I don't trust Ryan McKenzie at all. I'm saying that. I don't care if someone takes a clip of me saying that and post and makes it blasting all over, because I offered him to be on this show, to do a podcast with us while he was campaigning, because he said, and people say, "Oh, you should vote for him instead of Maria Montero," and I'm like, well, he goes on my show, he answers my questions, I may consider it. But he did nothing. He did not reach out. He or and in fact, I think his campaign manager contacted me, if I remember right, and asked me who I would vote for the seventh district, and I'm like, well, at the moment, Maria Montero, because I didn't trust anyone else, and even the Independent Party, so he sounds more like a Democrat than independent, because if he was independent, he would have a mind of his own outside any of the two parties, like I do. And so I couldn't vote for him. Nice guy, but I couldn't vote for him because I don't know if he's so anti-Trump, because he's and then he's almost censored something I posted on his page on his group in this group on Facebook, and but because I'm a running for mayor, he said, "Oh, I'm going to allow it to be kept." So I'm like, well, at least I can get people to respond with the reactions. Ha 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 on him.
Hey,
But but
interactions. That's what you need. You need the interactions, or whatever, the clicks. I don't know how the algorithm works. I'm just saying
yep.
words.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna now I'm glad I didn't vote for him because he believes everything the Democrats says, even though he ran as an independent, and that to me just tells me everything I need to know. You it now if you had critiques about Trump, like a couple of my friends who I did a podcast with, um, they did they said on their podcast, if you cannot make critiques about your candidate, then you're in a cult.
Yes.
He said it just like that. And they did critique Trump on things that they saw issues with. And I respect that. I have a lot of respect for people like that. So I'm hoping, so hopefully the next show about tariffs will be absolutely what what we're gonna have absolutes what's happening in
Yeah, maybe
current
may
time.
exactly. We might be able to figure out what's actually going on. And unfortunately, that involves not watching the news.
Yep, absolutely. Oh wow, I'm echoing.
Ah, it's a freaking cat. Hey,
Ah,
yeah, he's
Letting you
getting
know.
nippy.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
so I would say so. Yeah, hopefully on our next show we know what's going on. We'll get more details, and since it's 8:04, we're going
Oh
above
crap!
time.
Oh damn! I didn't
Yeah, I
realize.
know.
That's why the cat's getting antsy.
Not bad for a discussion.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even realize. I was just like, why is he being such a nudge right now? Because he knows he gets fed right after we're done. He always gets fed right after we're
Ah,
done.
well,
It's like an alarm clock.
well, with, with that in mind, we're gonna say good night to the viewers out there, and we'll see you again next week. And you have a good night.
Have fun, everybody. Thanks for joining in.
Later.
Peace.